It's that time again, Our Town Live, where friends, family, people you know, and others you'd rather not know share with us their unique bits of wisdom. And now, here's Herb, your host, for another show.
Jiska Hachmer is an environmental, consumer behavioral, and educational psychologist. She is a leader specializing in international business and management. She is also a writer and entrepreneur with a specialization in healthcare entrepreneurship. There's so much more to tell you. Let's let her tell you herself. What you do and where you live right now, because I know it isn't near Atlanta, Georgia.
That's true. I live in Holland, in the Netherlands, and I am an environmental psychologist, and I am an APA member, an international APA member, and I am studying for my bachelor degree in health science, because I want to be an MD, a medical doctor, / psychologist. So I want to be finding the physical illness when people are mentally ill, because a lot of times people are misdiagnosed and then they actually have physical illness. For example, when people have depression, we do not think about their heart problems, but it can be a heart problem. So that's why I want to also study health science. And I have a business, and that's Essence, and I am studying to find the core of development of people, how they develop in the best way, and I design environments. That's actually what I do.
What do you mean you design environments?
For example, an environment for children in school, what's the best in the environment to study, but people can also study at home, so what would be a good environment to study at home? But I like to take it a little bit further, how the weather influences the mind. So when certain conditions in the air, like nitrogen or other things like ozone, are going up, then people can change in behavior. They can get depressed or they can get violent. So I like to study it very broad, with a lot of science about how people could respond to the environment. And then I like to design and the environment and sort of a forecast of what could happen, a prediction of what could happen with the behavior of people. So, for example, when people are in Asia, there's already like a group of people that will help. When people are having too much ozone in the air, they get too depressed. Then people, like social workers, go out to help people. And I like to design environments like that. So I want to help people design protocols and like a lockdown plan, something like that, like plans for people to respond to those things. So it's like a total design.
What is neuro-emotion integration?
Yes, it's actually like EFT. That's a little bit older. That's like emotions. I studied it from a doctor in the Netherlands who also has now a degree in psychology in the USA. He is from Florida. He lived in Jupiter, I think. That's a city in Florida. And he was a long time in the Netherlands, and he taught things that he learned in America about EFT. That's, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it's a therapy from USA. And I studied that like 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm a practitioner. That's the name of it, like the MEY practitioner. But that's a little bit the Dutch EFT. So that's how I started studying psychology and sciences, and I like to take it more deep into unconsciousness and stress. So when people are stressed, they used a test to find the stress in the body. So that was a little study compared to psychology in total in a degree, but I did study how people can get stressed and how people can get unstressed. That's actually what that is. So then they do neuroscience and the emotional part, and they try to integrate the emotions. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
no,
that's what it is.
Not really.
Yeah, it's a Dutch version of EFT. So it's a sort of a therapy.
I understand that you're very active currently with the pandemic issue. Tell me a little bit from your vantage point what you do, where we are, and where do you think we're going internationally, not just the United States.
Yes, because I am studying a USA degree in the Bachelor of Health of Science. I was studying currently the biology and health psychology, and I already had studied social epidemiology. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but I came in with that when in Wuhan there was the SARS, and I had studied social epidemiology in 2013. So I was prepared of what SARS is, and because the doctor said this is SARS, I was alert, and I knew not many people in this country had studied it. So I knew SARS could come over to here, and they first had to figure out if it was really SARS too. And I already expected it because it is a doctor. He can know. I knew he was right, and I was accidentally actually very well, not planned. I just had some friends on internet through YouTube, which I was following actually. Not very. Did not know them very well, but I was following how they were going through things in China, and not all data is going out, honestly, or not totally, or they can get in trouble telling things. So I knew a little bit about how much trouble it was, and I saw people from China talking about it, and I tried to help, writing letters and things from my studies, helping them to find the data and simply support. And then I was writing articles on Medium. That's a website for publishing articles. And I just tried to explain social epidemiology and health psychology. And I'd added articles about data science. And I was helping to find where it was going, so how many deaths there could be, and to collect the data. And I saw other people doing it as well, but in the beginning there were not many people doing this. And it was at the beginning of January. I was very alone in it in the beginning, but I already had worked a lot in Holland about social epidemiology in the schools, where people were very neglective, almost in the same way of how China reacts, that they were reacting. Now they do it better. But in the beginning, they wanted to pretend it was not there, and I noted that it was very important to write about it. So I wrote a lot of articles first about it, and I kept using my network to share all these articles. And then it changed a little bit because then the whole world got the pandemic. So I tried to focus to figure out the data for Italy and for Holland. So I just tried to contribute in the same way as a lot of people are doing now. And I also found that because I'm in a network with a lot of medical doctors, because of my studies, I already had collected a lot of people who were studying the same things, and they were or my teachers in some courses, or I just found them to learn from them. And then I saw them in trouble a lot because, for example, I follow someone who is number 2 in a list of 100 medical doctors in America, and he saw in New York people dying, and also medical doctors were in trouble. And I saw that same thing happening in Spain and in Italy. And then I figured out that people needed respiratory machines. So I tried to put a little bit of pressure on the government locally with articles and with my social media, and sharing all the information and sharing what the doctors say, so they get aware. Because in the beginning, our country also did not understand this was really SARS. They thought it was the flu. And so that's actually what I kept doing. I just kept talking about it, and I make a focus on making people aware that the equipment is very important, for especially a respiratory machine and oxygen, that people just really need that, because doctors alarm that people need oxygen, and that even young people are getting damages while they don't know they have the COVID virus. They do get damages, and then for example, a Belgian doctor alarmed about it a while ago. So I'm actually just in all of the news and then trying to help to get the best news articles out there, and if they're not there, to write about it so that people get aware. That's actually what I do, and it's a little bit the same as in the APA PR. We are a group of people in the APA that when it's our topic, we get a message to write about it. So when there's something about my topic in the news that would be wrong, I could write about it and help to get people aware about what it is. So it's a little bit the same. I try to write about it and make people aware of the real data and the real news about it and what they could help with. For example, to help with the respiratory machines and to help the MD, because the medical doctors are very anxious and crying. I see a lot of doctors crying that their colleagues are dying, but also that the patients are dying and that they have to leave them alone, that they just have to let them die, and that they get messages from their bosses that they just better cry at night and then let the people die during the day. And that's really hard to see, but what they record, because they make YouTube videos about that I try to spread in my social network, and I think it helps to get people aware of what really happens. And I also try to focus on the ICU at home, that people really get equipment at home so that they can be at home with oxygen and stay there longer, so that the beds in the hospitals are not full at once. So I just try to help a little bit with all what I know. That's actually what I do.
They're talking on the news this morning a lot here in America about splitting the machines, the ventilating machines. How did they do that?
Yes, I have seen that on YouTube, and I also spread that news to help. And they're going to do that in Holland too, because we have 2,000 beds that we could use as a ICU bed in the hospital. But if you use a splitter on the machine, I saw a doctor from America use that and explain that to all the people in the world, then you can make even 4 people go on one machine. So they, I don't know how you say that in English, but there's where the air goes out, you put the splitter on, and then 4 people, they are attached to the same machine, so they have to agree with the 4 families if they want, because the virus will go into the machine as well. But when 4 people have the same virus, it's not that dangerous because they already have the virus. But then 4 people can share a machine and can all 4 get the air. And they do have to study this. It's very important that people who are very studied about the respiratory machines understand when it's not working well enough, because people could get problems because it's not very much studied, the doctor explained. But they did use it. So it's not very much research. So they don't have the evidence in research, but they do have evidence on the practical situation they have, because they have done it before. Right. And they have done it before I think in Las Vegas with the shooting. That's what she explained in the YouTube videos that I have seen. And a lot of people came into the ICU and they just simply had a problem that they did not have enough respiratory machines. So they put on splitters, and then everyone, per 4 people, they use one respiratory machine. They get the oxygen from that one machine. And then when for example, in our country, we have just simply 2,000 beds for that. Then they have 4 times 2,000 beds. So then they have 8,000 beds. Right. That gives us a bit more time.
Tell me about your history. It says here that you were a singer. Are you still a singer?
Yes, I am as well. I was indeed a singer when I was younger. That happened because my brother owned his own radio station for gamers and for simply local people in the beginning. And at the end, he was working at 3FM. That's the national radio station in Holland. But when I was little, we always had the radio station. And I just used his studio, and I love singing. And I did karaoke shows and won a lot of contests. So I just accidentally came into that because I was before the ballet dancer as a child, and I loved singing. And then we had a drive-in disco show, so we went around through the country and sang a lot. But at the moment, I did some courses at Berklee College of Music in America online.